So I was going to make a normal review of chapter 197, but I couldn't really find a proper way to do it. Like I've been trying to record for quite a while and it just didn't work out the way I planned. So instead I'm gonna talk about Shinso more generally. I'm just gonna talk about how I feel about Shinso right now, because obviously Shinso has changed ever since we saw him in the sports festival, and I just feel like I needed to make a video because obviously I haven't uploaded in a week. Some people, I'm not saying a lot of people, but some people may expect me to do a review, so they may be a little bit disappointed at the fact that they're not gonna get one, but they are getting a video at least, which is somewhat relevant because I am gonna talk about the current Shinso, not the old Shinso. So yeah, let's just get right into it, shall we? Now, the thing with Shinso for me that really has improved since way back is that we obviously now get to see him a lot more experienced than he was back then. But that's not really to say that he is perfect, because as we know, inexperience was a topic that was brought up in this chapter of My Hero Academia, and that just goes to show you that despite the fact that he may have had intense training with Aizawa, it doesn't make him perfect by any means, because he hasn't really been out there. He hasn't really had the same events or situations happen to him that the other hero courses have, because he's been in the general course, which is, well, it's a general course. It's not a hero course at all. It's just part of the UA Academy, which happens to be a very prestigious school. He hasn't done anything up until this point that was going to make him a hero up until now, when he has the opportunity to really, I guess, get a promotion of sort, you know, change course, prove himself worthy of the hero course, which he clearly failed in the entrance exam, which was mainly because of his quirk and the fact that he had no other means of really combating those robots. So I'm really glad that someone like Shinso has a second chance at this, but that's not really what I want to talk about. What I really want to talk about is Shinso's personality, you know, the way he really handles things, you know, the way he uses his quirk right now, and so on and so forth. It's gonna be a little bit repetitive probably based on my reviews in the past, because I have talked about his new quirk, or rather, well, not the new quirk, but the way he uses his quirk now opposed to how we used it before, because of this new mask that he has. And of course he has this scarf that Aizawa gave him, so he is a lot more proficient with hand-to-hand combat now than what it was when he was fighting Deku, which is something that I also really want to get into. But I'm gonna start off by talking about his personality, because something that I noticed a couple of chapters back was that he mentioned to, I think it was Monoma, that he has no intention of making friends, and obviously Kaminari later on also approached him saying that he really likes Shinso. So Shinso is a likable character to his surroundings, you know. If Kaminari can get in touch with him and actually find something in Shinso that's likable, I mean, anyone can really, because Kaminari, he's like sort of a middle guy, you know. He doesn't really have too high standards, but not too low either. He's certainly in the middle, so to speak. The problem, I think, is gonna be Shinso himself, because Shinso doesn't really seem to have that thing going for him. He doesn't really seem to be interested in making friends, although I do see that becoming a thing in the future, possibly even in the near future, because if he's gonna be part of a hero course, he's gonna be surrounded by either class 1A or class 1B, right? At least probably. And if he's put in one of those classes, well, I can't really speak much for class 1B, but in class 1A, people definitely hang out a lot together, and Shinso will not be excluded from that. Someone is gonna drag him along to whatever it is that they're doing, and you know, it's gonna be inevitable at some point that he is going to really form attachments, you know, become friends with people. Like, you see this thing happen in real life as well, like in school, even at workplaces and stuff, where some people will try and really be to themselves. Then you're gonna have someone who wants to drag you along because that person doesn't really feel it's right for you to just be on your own. That person may not understand that you want to be alone, but that doesn't change the fact that they're gonna try their best to really make you part of their group. So I think we're gonna see something like that with Shinso really soon in the story, assuming he gets put in one of the hero classes, which I honestly think he will. I don't necessarily believe anyone's gonna get kicked out yet, at least. I mean, obviously you have this whole traitor theory going around. Someone might be kicked out if they're the traitor, of course, but I don't really think that's gonna happen at the same time necessarily. I do believe they could just shove in another table and a chair and have Shinso sit. You know, it's not really that difficult. So yeah, that's really what I wanted to say in terms of his persona, you know, his personality, because that's something that really became apparent like now in the recent chapters. Obviously we know what kind of person he is in general. He's not really that forward going. He's very quiet, you know, he's not necessarily shy, but he's certainly not a Deku who wants to help everyone, be nice to everyone, and he's not really a Bakugo who wants to insult everyone. He's just to himself. He's very reserved, and that's about it, at least for now. Now let's talk about his quirk, or rather this mask that really helps him use his quirk in a different way from before, because it's something that I have mentioned in a review before, but I am gonna talk about it again because it is something that needs to be talked about. It allows him to mimic people's voices, so it's a voice changer effectively. And now one thing that I'm really curious about still, because it hasn't really been properly explained, is if he needs to have these voices pre-programmed or if he can just, you know, change the frequency on the go and make it sound like someone else. If that is the case, then I'm really curious, you know, how it's gonna be limited or restricted, because it really can be quite overpowered in the sense that if he can just change it on the fly, then he can really make it adapt to literally anyone. However, there's also a problem if he has to have them pre-programmed, which is that when he comes out to the real world, you know, a hero situation, a crime essentially, whoever that criminal or villain happens to be, he's probably not gonna have met them before, which means that having that voice pre-programmed is gonna be a problem. So there's problems in each direction in my opinion, but at the same time I'm sure Horikoshi will find a really good way to really settle how this quirk works properly, because it is something that I really want to know. And his scarf, let's talk about the scarf, because Shinso's scarf, it's exactly the same as Aizawa's scarf and they use it for the same fucking reason, okay? Their quirks doesn't really help them fight as a whole, because in Aizawa's case it just erases people's quirks as long as he doesn't blink. And Shinso, he can brainwash people, but if they don't respond to him, he has to find another way of handling the situation. And this scarf is a pretty good solution. It's obviously a form of hand-to-hand combat, I would say. I mean, it's not really your typical martial arts shit going on. It's just technique, really. It's a different type of technique. We've seen Aizawa use this multiple times where he, you know, he mixes around using the scarf and just basic hand-to-hand combat. And you can see some pretty crazy shit going on. Like, they can wrap people, they can wrap objects and use them against someone, like we saw in this chapter of My Hero Academia. We saw Shinso use his scarf on this pipe, which he then smacked on the Beast Boy. And that's just, you know, one way of using the scarf. And I think it's really cool that we've already seen this being used. And what I really find fascinating about Shinso in particular is how he named his first move after Aizawa. It started with the Razor Head, which I find to be a really cool tribute to his mentor in this fighting style. It's a really good touch. It's not really anything huge when you think about it. It's just a sign that he actually has respect for the one who have helped him to get the second chance at reaching the hero course. And that is absolutely amazing. I also hope we do get to see something more from Shinso. Obviously, it's still gonna be the scarf and the quirk, but I really want to see exactly how good he is. I want to see where his limit is, because while it's true that we did see that he is quite inexperienced in terms of fighting, because, well, obviously he's had training, but he hasn't really been put in a lot of fighting scenarios, you know, battle situations, while the other classes have. So he's not quite as experienced as the people in the hero course, but he is certainly someone who knows the basics, as we saw. Like, he's not totally useless. He is certainly someone that could be a really good asset in the future, and that's something that I really want to see. I really want to see where his limit is right now and just how he can progress from that point. That's something that I really want to see. Anyway, that's really all I had to say about Shinso for now. I really just wanted to make a video, as I said, because I'm not really making a review because I can't really figure out my way of doing it this week. It's probably gonna be a normal review next week though, so don't worry about that if you're a subscriber. So with that, I'll end the video here. You know, let me know what you think down below in the comments. What do you think about Shinso personally? Do you like him? How do you like him now as opposed to how much you liked him before? Because the way he treated people and the way he acted acted is very different in my opinion, and I'm sure a lot of people are gonna have similar opinions and think quite similarly to me in that respect, where you can really see how he shows more interest in being a hero now from what he did before, because of the fact that now he actually understands that there are people out there who see the value in his quirk. Anyway, if you did, be sure to Detroit smash that like button if you enjoyed, and subscribe if you haven't done so already. This has been Chaotic Plus, and remember everybody, Toga is waifu, Toga is life.